Hi everybody, so today we're looking at the two calculations on the screen and trying to look at why they are different and have different answers even though they look very similar. What we're going to try and do is explain using maths why these two answers are different. So the maths we're going to look at is something we looked at recently called BIDMAS. Now previously you guys have heard it referred to as BODMAS. BIDMAS is exactly the same as BODMAS, it just uses a slightly different terminology. So we've got brackets first, then we've got indices. Now I'm using indices. If you say BODMAS, you're using the word orders. It's exactly the same thing. Then division and multiplication, and addition and subtraction. So this is how we decide what part of a calculation to do first. So I've got my two calculations on screen, -5 in brackets squared and -5 squared. So if we look at the one on the top left of the screen with the brackets, it's got brackets, so we start with brackets. Now usually we'd expect to see a sum or a calculation inside a bracket, but here we've just got an integer, and that integer is -5. But because we have the brackets first, what we know is that we have to look at everything inside the bracket as being one thing. So -5 is inside the bracket. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to look at the second part, which is the indices, and the index in this case is squared, which means multiplying something by itself. So I'll assume that we know how to multiply a negative number by itself. If we don't, ask me. And -5 squared is 25, because it's -5 times -5. If we look at the top right of the screen, we've got -5 squared, or you might say -5 squared. There's no brackets here, so the first thing we look at is the indices, and that means that we're doing 5 squared. We're then going to look at add or subtract. And what this means is we start by looking at the indices. We have 5 squared equals 25. We've then got to look at the subtract sign, which turns it into -25, or if you prefer, -25. Now the minus sign here causes quite a bit of confusion. Inside the brackets, the minus sign here shows us that this is -5. So we're taking everything inside the brackets, which is -5, and then we're squaring it. So we've done brackets, then we've done indices, and we've ended up with -5 times itself, which gives us 25. On the right hand side, we've done 5 squared, because we start with the indices, that's 25. Then the subtract sign, or the minus sign, tells us that that number is going to be negative, that number is going to be a minus, so it's -25. If we look at -5 squared without any brackets in a sum, it perhaps becomes a little clearer. So now we've got 200 minus 5 squared. So the first thing that we do, using BIDMAS, there's no brackets, so we look at the indices. So 5 squared becomes 25. So the sum is now 200 minus 25. There's no division multiplication, so the last thing we look at is add and subtract, which gives us 200 take away 25 is 175. So that's a very short explanation of why the two calculations were different. There's some work today which covers it in a bit more detail, and if you've got any questions, just let me know.